You thought you saw a slap. On March 27, 2022, when Will Smith walked onto that stage, you thought you were watching a celebrity lose his cool. You thought you were watching a man lose his composure entirely. You thought you were watching the wildest moment in live TV history. You were wrong. What you actually watched was the real-time unraveling of a 30-year-old product. You watched the destruction of a billion-dollar asset known as the nice guy. For 3 decades, Will Smith wasn't just an actor, he was a guarantee. He was the 4th of July box office king. He was the safe, approachable, affable dad who never swore in his raps and saved the world from aliens. And in less than 10 seconds, he torched that entire legacy. But here's the part that media isn't telling you. While the world was busy canceling him, while Hollywood was busy blacklisting him, and while the internet was turning him into a laughingstock, Will Smith was quietly pulling off the greatest magic trick of his career. He didn't try to fix the nice guy image. He didn't try to beg for your forgiveness. He did something much smarter and much darker. He used the hatred to build a new face. Today, we are looking at the autopsy of a superstar. We are going to show you exactly how Will Smith survived a cancellation that would have ended anyone else. We are going to look at the numbers, the secret strategy, and the messy truth about his marriage that actually saved his career. This isn't a redemption story. This is a survival guide. Because you have to ask yourself a question. How does a man go from being banned by the Academy and mocked by millions to having the #1 movie in the world just 2 years later? How do you sell tickets to an audience that supposedly hates you? The answer lies in a specific scene in Bad Boys Ride or Die, a scene that Chris Rock reportedly hated, a scene that made critics groan, but a scene that told the general public exactly what they needed to hear. It involves a slap, but not the one you remember. To understand how bad the crash was, you have to understand how high the plane was flying. Before 2022, Will Smith was not just famous, he was statistically unassailable. In the entertainment industry, there is a metric called a Q score. It measures how much people know you and how much they like you. For guys like Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, a positive Q score sits around 40%. That is a gold standard. For years, Will Smith lived in that 40% tier. He was the Fresh Prince. He was the guy who could cross every demographic line. Black audiences loved him. White audiences felt safe with him. International audiences bought tickets just to see his face on the poster. He built this house brick by brick. He carefully curated an image of perfection. He was the idealized hero. He didn't have scandals. He didn't have drug busts. Even his marriage was marketed as this untouchable, perfect union. He was the American dream personified. And that is why the fall was so violent. When he hit Chris Rock, he didn't just break a social norm. He shattered the contract he had with the audience. The data backs this up. It was brutal. Immediately after the Oscars, his positive Q score plummeted from a 39 to a 24. You might think, hey, 24 isn't zero, but in Hollywood, a drop of 15 points isn't a decline. It is a catastrophe. It is a statistical free fall. At the same time, his negative rating, the number of people who actively dislike him, tripled. It went from less than 10 to a 26. He went from being beloved to polarizing overnight. And polarizing stars do not sell Happy Meals. They do not get the big family-friendly ad campaigns. The industry reacted exactly how you would expect, with cowardice. They didn't officially fire him, they just ghosted him. It was a soft ban. So what do you do when the world turns its back on you? If you follow the traditional PR playbook, you apologize, you look sad, you ask for forgiveness. And that is exactly what Will Smith tried to do, and it failed miserably. In July 2022, 4 months after the slap, he released a YouTube video. It was titled, "It's Been a Minute." The production was stripped back, no fancy lighting, just Will looking sad, talking to a camera. He answered questions, he apologized to Chris Rock's mother, he apologized to Questlove, whose award moment he ruined. He tried to explain that he was fogged out during the incident. On paper, it checked every box, but the audience didn't buy it. Why? Because redemption requires 2 people, the sinner and the victim. And the victim wasn't playing along. Chris Rock didn't accept the apology. In fact, he went on stage and called him Suge Smith. He rejected the victim narrative entirely. Without Rock's forgiveness, Smith was stuck in limbo. The video got millions of views, but the sentiment didn't shift. People just saw a great actor trying to act his way out of a corner. Then came the second mistake. he released Emancipation. This was a movie filmed before the slap, a grueling black and white drama about slavery. It was designed to be his Oscar victory lap. In a normal world, this role would have reminded everyone that Will Smith is a powerhouse actor. But in the post-slap world, it was a burden. The marketing team tried to be respectful. Smith did a somber press tour. He said he understood if people weren't ready to see him, but the movie flopped. It was a massive budget, over $120 million, and it vanished with barely a whisper. Here is the problem. Emancipation was about suffering. It was serious. It demanded that you respect Will Smith, the artist. But nobody wanted to respect him right then. They were still processing the violence. They didn't want to see him in pain. They didn't want to see him being important. The serious actor's strategy was dead on arrival. He needed a new plan. He needed to stop trying to be the hero. This is where the story gets weird, and where the rage bait turns into something else entirely. For years, the internet has had a theory about Will Smith. They didn't hate him because he was violent. They pitied him because he was weak. This narrative exploded in October 2023 when Jada Pinkett Smith released her memoir, Worthy. The media blitz for this book was insane, and it dropped a bombshell that changed everything. Jada revealed that she and Will had been separated since 2016. Let that sink in. When they were walking red carpets holding hands, separated. When they were posting family photos, separated. They were living completely different lives. Suddenly, the Oscars slap looked different. It wasn't the act of an arrogant superstar bullying a comedian. It was the act of a man who was emotionally crumbling. A man trying to defend a wife who wasn't really his wife anymore. A man trapped in a sloppy public experiment, as he called it. The public narrative shifted from Will Smith is a bully to Will Smith is broken. And then came the oversharing. Jada talked about entanglements. She talked about Tupac. She talked about everything. The public got annoyed. They were tired of the Smiths. They were tired of hearing about their bedroom. But strangely, this annoyance worked in Will's favor. The specific anger about the slap got diluted into a general feeling of, man, this family is messy. It humanized him. He was no longer the untouchable god. He was a guy with a complicated, messy, confusing marriage, just like a lot of regular people. He was the passenger in his own chaotic life, and people started to feel sorry for him. This was the first step in the new equation. Will Smith's team realized something crucial. He couldn't go back to being Mr. Perfect. That guy was dead. So he decided to become someone else. The report calls this archetype the chaos integrationist. The idea is simple. Don't hide the mess, own the mess. If the world thinks you are weird, be weird. Look at the spaghetti video. In early 2024, an AI-generated video of Will Smith eating spaghetti went viral. It was grotesque, it was glitchy, it was disturbing. The old Will Smith would have ignored it or sued. The new Will Smith? He filmed a parody of it. He sat at a table and ate spaghetti with the same glitchy, weird movements as the AI. He posted it on Instagram. It was funny. It was self-deprecating. He was saying to the audience, I see the memes, I know I'm a joke right now, and I'm in on it. This is how you disarm a bully. You laugh at yourself first. He leaned into nostalgia. He showed up at Coachella with J Balvin, dressed in his Men in Black suit, holding the neuralizer. Think about that symbolism there. The neuralizer is a device that wipes people's memories. He was literally standing on stage waving a memory wiping device at the crowd. It didn't actually wipe the slap from our brains, but it reminded us of a time when Will Smith made us feel good. It tapped into the dopamine of the 90s. The crowd went wild. He was paving the way for the main event. Everything. The Instagram videos, the book tour, the Coachella cameo was leading to one moment. June 2024, the release of Bad Boys Ride or Die. This was the test. Sony finally unpaused the movie. They decided that the Bad Boys brand was too big to fail, but they needed to address the elephant in the room. They couldn't pretend the slap didn't happen, but they couldn't make a serious movie about it either. So they did something brilliant. They ritualized it. Late in the movie, Will Smith's character Mike Lowry is having a panic attack. He is freezing up in the middle of an action sequence. And what does his partner, Martin Lawrence, do? He slaps him. And he doesn't just slap him once, he slaps him repeatedly, back and forth, hard. Critics call it tasteless. Chris Rock reportedly called it a cheap stunt. But for the audience, it was an exorcism. They were watching Will Smith stand there and take it. He was getting physically chastised by his best friend. He was taking his licks. It turned the trauma of the Oscars into a slapstick gag. It gave the audience permission to laugh at him, which eventually let them laugh with him. It was the ultimate strategic maneuver. It commodified the scandal. So, did it work? Did the chaos integrationist strategy save his career? The numbers don't lie. Bad Boys Ride or Die opened to $56.5 million in the US. The box office proved that the cultural shift was successful. Will Smith is not the same guy he was in 2021. He will never have that perfect 39 Q score again. That part of his life is over. He isn't the unassailable nice guy anymore. He is something more interesting now. He is the resilient veteran. He is the guy who stood in the fire and didn't fall apart. He proved that in 2024, you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be interesting, and you need to be able to take a punch or a slap. The 10-year ban from the Oscars, it's irrelevant. Will Smith doesn't need a golden statue to validate him anymore. He has the box office, he has the TikTok algorithm, and he has the one thing that matters most in Hollywood: attention. The slap wasn't the end of his story, it was just the end of the first act. We are now watching Act 2, the survival of the fittest. So what do you think? Did Will Smith deserve the comeback, or is Hollywood just letting him off the hook because he makes them money? And does the slap scene in Bad Boys make you cringe, or was it genius? Drop a comment below. I really want to see the debate on this one. And if you want to see more deep dives into the machinery of celebrity downfalls and comebacks, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what we have coming next.